Hey, everybody. Yes, welcome back to the Paid Search Podcast. My name is Jason Rothman. As always, I'm joined by the great Chris Schaefer. Chris, how's it going today?
I'm excellent, Jason. How are
Good,
you?
good. I'm. I was doing great. I'm still doing great. So doing great.
Okay, still,
Yeah. How are you? How are
it
you?
feels like you're telling yourself that. It feels like you were on the great road, and then
Yeah.
suddenly somebody came veering in and like almost
Yeah.
like cut you off and knocked you off the great road onto crap road. But
Yeah.
you're telling
To
yourself
join
you're
to
still
join
on.
them on Crap Road. Yeah, like you. Yeah, but it's okay, Chris. It's no problem. We're moving on. It's okay. We're doing a little
Okay, we're good.
pre-show production before the show, everyone, and
I
wow.
just,
That's. I guess that's
I
all I'll
just,
say. It's just
I
wow.
Jason's got his hot rod. He's going down the highway 90 miles an hour, and I come in with my diesel 18 wheeler, and I'm just like, I'm gonna ruin all this party.
Yeah, but I don't let you, and that's why it works. But anyway, how are you,
Yeah.
Chris? Doing good. You got a collared shirt on today? Anything important going on, or just felt like wearing a collar?
No, no. I'd change it up. I want to try and match the professional level that my co-host brings to the show.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Good, good. Well, speaking of professional, we got a fun episode today. Week one checklist for new Google Ads campaign. So this is for brand new advertisers, but it's also for people who've been advertising for many, many years. And from time to time, we all add new campaigns to our Google Ads accounts. And so Chris put together a nice checklist here, what to do during the first 7 days, the exact things to do. And we'll go through each day and kind of talk it through and see if anything's missing or if this is a comprehensive list, and kind of get into how do you check the bids and the budgets? Why does Chris start with phrase match keywords? And we'll get into all of that. A lot of people are enjoying the PPC Daily podcast, Chris. We put that out Monday through Friday. It's clips from the Paid Search podcast, PPC Daily. And a lot of people are enjoying the YouTube channel, both for the full videos, and then also we don't spam your subscription feed, but they're on the channel there. Clips from the Paid Search podcast. Next week, we're going to be doing a Q&A episode, so make sure you send in your questions at paidsearchpodcast.com. And finally, Chris, we have the first 100 episodes available for sale at paidsearchpodcast.com. So with that said, I think we should get into our episode here, week one checklist for new Google Ads campaigns.
yeah, yeah. So, I love putting practical things together here. And Jason, if I may, if you enjoy this kind of practical stuff, I pulled this straight from my Patreon group where I do weekly videos. So this is a simplified version of one of the videos that I did on my Patreon group. So if you like that, be sure and check that out at my website. So yeah, this is, I get questions like this all the time about what do I do? People feel stagnated about like, okay, I turned it on. I studied and studied and studied on how to launch a campaign, how to build a campaign, and I turned it on. What do I do? And that's what we're going to talk about. But before I get into that, I want to remind you guys the tool that goes beyond just the practical thing, but everyday, day-to-day reminders of actually getting results, and that's Opteo. Opteo is the tool that I use, and I get great results from it. I know you will too. Opteo, that's opteo.com/PSP. This is the tool that I remind you about every week because it is the only tool that I trust. People ask me all the time, Chris, what tools do you use? You're absolutely just great at what you do. You must have a wealth of tools. This is the only tool that I have in my my bookmarks. I have Opteo listed, and it has all my accounts in there, and I use it on almost all of my accounts. Some of them don't really need it, but I'll tell you what, the ones that do need it, it is priceless because it helps me to remember the things that I forgot. And I forgot that I forgot those things. That's what it does. It helps you remember the things that you forgot that you need to do, checking certain things. Red Flight's an amazing tool, especially for those hard to optimize accounts. That's what really has made a difference for me, and you're going to like it with an 8-week free trial. That's 2 months for free to try the tool. You're going to like it. It has reporting and all kinds of wonderful features. You won't know until you try it. That's optio.com/PSP.
Okay, thanks, Chris. So let's talk about what to do on day one of a new Google Ads campaign. Chris, is this after you've already set up settings and added keywords and created ads, just for clarity?
Yes. You've gone through the whole setup. You've got everything, like it's ready to launch. You're happy with your ads and everything. This is like literally day one. You've turned it on, or you've given it a budget and a bid. That's actually the first step. So step one, give everything a budget and a bid that's appropriate to what you're looking for. Okay. Now, one thing we'll say, because this is the Paid Search Podcast, and you and I work in the way that we think is the best, and the superior method for both of us, I think we agree, is manual bids is the best place to start. I prefer manual bidding, and that's why I say set your bids in the budget. I don't say just set your budget, because we're using manual bids, and so therefore you need bids at the ad group level, and that's what I'm referring to for step one, day one.
Okay, so set your bids and budget. Pretty simple to say, but maybe harder to do in reality for people that don't have a ton of experience with Google Ads. Let's start with budget. What do you set your budget to?
Yeah,
it's based on the day. So
right.
What do you do?
Right. So there's going to be really 3 different situations. Situation number 1, you're running 7 days a week. So you take your total budget over the month and divide it by 30. If it's $1,000, then it'd be about $33 a day, and that would bring you to $1,000 for the month. If you're running just weekdays, that'd be situation number 2, and you would divide it by, I usually do 20. I usually say about 20 days. So I take my total budget as if $1,000, I divide it by 20, that comes out to about $50 a day. And then situation number 3, if you have something customized, beyond that, you're only running like Monday through Wednesday or something, just figure it out from there, and you can come up with your own custom number. But really, it's just your total budget divided by the number of days per month that you're running.
And a big problem I hear from a lot of advertisers, Chris, even seasoned, when they're talking about new campaigns to set up, people get very worried about what to set their monthly budget at. So do you have any thoughts on the importance or lack of importance of that? Just briefly.
Briefly, whatever what I always say, my one-time answer to that, because I really don't like the question, is whatever you can afford to lose and get nothing from it, and it not cause you to have to sell your family and burn your home. There we go.
And do you feel like explaining the context of that on the 314th episode, or should we just let it sit there?
Hey, okay.
It'd be fun to let it sit there.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just briefly add on to that. Obviously, getting results is very, very possible, and it happens all the time within the first 30 days. Within the first 90 days, it always happens. Like, it almost always happens. But that first 30 days, and to a little bit of a smaller extent, the first 90 days is a time when new campaigns are there to figure it out, and you want to have something that you're comfortable with running for 3 months in a row, because usually that's the time I think us and most seasoned advertisers ask to have to dial it in and to figure out the strategy that's going to work really, really good, even though you can get pretty good results a lot quicker than that. So Definitely. Set your budget, and we'll move here, Chris. Your bids. Okay, sorry, but this is going to be a very tough one for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You're a manual guy. I'm a manual guy. We kind of know what to look for here. We've worked in a lot of industries over and over. But let's say you're new to an industry. Let's say you're new to Google Ads. How do you even start with knowing what to set your bids at on a manual basis?
It's a really good question. And honestly, until you get to the level that Jason and I are at, I can't really tell you how I do it, because it's a gut level thing. Jason, if I
and they don't even have to be at the level I'm at. I think if they can just get to the level you're at, they could figure it out.
Right. If you could get to number 2, you don't have to be to number 1. Yeah. So at least, yeah.
Well, Chris, I think one way is the keyword planner. You can just see, what they say suggested keywords are at. Another way is if you have other campaigns going that are in a similar industry or the industry, and they're pretty similar. You can look at what the cost per click has been.
Mhm.
You can do maximize clicks for a week or so and see what the
Okay.
system dials it in there, and then change to
Okay.
manual. A good automated strategy to kind of find the right bidding level, I would say. Should take about a week to kind of get that data, some good data over a couple days after it warms up. And then finally, Chris, just like with budget, I think people overthink the manual bids. You can change your bids. If you set them
Yeah.
too low and
Yeah.
your positioning is showing up too low and you're not getting volume, you just raise your bids. If you start spending your budget what you think is in a way that's way too quickly, and your absolute top percentage position, you're showing up number one like a lot of the time, and you're spending your budget way too quickly, lower the bids. And so that's why, you want a month, 3 months to kind of figure it out, because you're going to be doing things like changing your bids. But I think people overthink that, and there's really nothing wrong with getting the wrong bids in there for a few days, as long as your daily budget is something you're comfortable with experimenting for 4 or 5 days while you figure out the bids.
And that is such a good point. Overthinking, if you're frozen on that point, you're doing exactly what Jason's talking about. You're overthinking it, and the next 6 days that we're going to go through will address whether you got that wrong or not. So the whole system that I built here will correct for a bad guess. So don't be held up on it at all.
Yeah, and if your monthly budget is $2,000 a month and your daily budget is let's say $60 a day, something like that, $66 a day. Well, the first couple days, $66. That's maybe you get the wrong bids for the first $66 that day. Okay, you're going to be spending $24,000 that year, $48,000 over 2 years. You can afford a day or two to figure it out. But
Yeah.
Chris, once you put a budget you're comfortable with, that's the word, and then bids that you want to try, what do you do with your keywords, and why do you like phrase match here?
Yeah. So my suggestion is to go with phrase match, largely because it limits the risk, and it really has to do with how much risk you're willing to take. So phrase match is something that I prefer for many clients to begin with, when I know that the volume of traffic is there, and I know that these searches are fairly common. Absolutely necessary if there is a fine line between qualified and unqualified. Particularly, I'm talking to like B2B companies, things like that. I think it's absolutely necessary. But if you're okay with more risk and you don't feel like there's such a fine line, then I think broad is okay. But again, this system does correct itself towards the later part of the week if you got that wrong.
So phrase match, you're trying to get volume quickly to get some results, but you're also trying to protect quality
Yes.
as you get that volume. I don't think anyone can argue with that. I think phrase match is a great idea. You just got to be a little careful with your 1 and 2 word keywords. Keywords that are 1 word long or 2 words long. You got to be careful with those on phrase match.
And you may have to go a little heavier on bid. That means you might have to bid heavier than you were expecting to get on Google. You may have to double at first, maybe triple the bids to get something on the board and get it going. So be aware of that as well.
Okay, and number 3, pretty easy one for the creator of the lazy man build over there.
There
Wait,
we go. You're right.
Don't make big changes yet. Sit on your butt and just chill. Just chill. On day one, just chill after you've set your bids, budget, and phrase match keywords. Just chill. The great Chris Schaefer.
That's it. Take the next 23 and a half hours off. That's it. Day 1 complete.
And a little life advice. What should people do?
Oh man. Pick up a newspaper and read. Jason, I know. Don't act like I'm weird. I know I've seen in your hands newspapers, and I've reignited my joy of tactile news reading. Just being tactile. Get away from the screen.
You're gonna are you indoors, outdoors? Where are you sitting?
I like to sit on one of my mini porches that I have and read the paper outside. It's delightful, very calming.
What kind of beverage? I know you have a beverage.
Water.
Guess it depends on the time of day.
Yeah. So yeah, if it's Cinco de Mayo, then we know that I've already had my first and second beer at noon. But other than that, yeah.
Sounds like some front porch sitting.
Yeah.
Sipping that sweet tea. Yeah.
And then 23 and a half hours later, here we go to day 2.
All right. Day 2 sounds a little bit tougher than day 1 because you might have some data, you might not. Mm-hmm. You have this nice little checklist, but I'm talking about reality here, Chris. I'm talking about the real deal. A lot of people go to day 2 and they and there's no data there. What do you do if that happens?
Okay, good question. It's a good question. Absolutely could be reality. Number
checklist inside a checklist.
Double checklist here. So day 1, double the bids maybe, and then if you don't have anything on day 1, maybe possibly double the bids. Number 2, try broad. Go to broad.
Ooh, okay,
that might be good.
Let me also throw out, check your ads. If there's any, if all your ads got disapproved, you're not running. Hey, did you forget to put your credit card in there? Google's a very friendly, down to earth company, but if you don't put the credit card in there, well, that happens a lot with advertisers. They're like, let's go. And then we start running and there's no credit card. And I'm like, okay, well, Google does, we're running a business here. They need their credit card. And then if you're running a maximize bids or maximize clicks, you're running a maximize clicks strategy. Check the status on the campaign level. It might still say learning. And if you don't have any data, but everything's approved and your credit card is in there, but you didn't get any impressions after 1 day under maximize clicks, I could see that happening with the learning status that it sits under for sometimes a couple days. So assuming you did get data, Chris, what do you do on day 2?
Okay, so these next items I'm going to list are going to be very repetitive, so we don't have to hit them every time, but it's important that I say them every day because this is really what you do. And Jason, if someone were to ask, Jason, what do you do? You say you're Google Ads Manager, what do you do? I could probably isolate exactly what we do. I look at search terms. I look at search terms. I look at search terms. Like, that's really what we do. And that is number 1 on the list for every single day after this. Check search terms. Check your search terms. And, okay, you say, well, what am I checking, Chris? Well, you're checking to make sure that you're getting what you expect. If you want a certain kind of quality, is that represented in the search terms that are coming from the keywords? And I don't go into further details about, how to fix that, but that is the checklist of how to run a new Google Ads. Check the search terms and make sure you're happy with the quality.
Day 2 is Christmas morning, and you're opening up your presents under the tree. You're seeing what you got, on your search terms. Let's say you don't like some of those search terms. Let's say some of them are like, oh yeah, I'm a moving company and people are looking for a mover in Dallas. But then some of them are, oh, why am I showing up on a search for this competitor? Or why am I showing up on a search for moving on lyrics? I don't like these search terms. What do you do at that point?
Yeah. Step 2. And again, this is going to be repeated. Add negative keywords. Now, you say, okay, that's a very blanket statement. How do I add those negative keywords? Again, we've talked about this before, but I want this to be a checklist that isn't, completely extensive. It's going to be something that's manageable, but
checklist.
It's a checklist. This isn't a full step-by-step guide.
Yeah.
When you add a negative keyword, you really have 2 options. You can add something that is multiple words and add something that is one singular word. And I add broad match. I add broad match negative keywords. So if you say, well, Chris, I only have 15 minutes in the day to do this, I would say use that 15 minutes to add a couple broad match negative keywords. And what I mean by that is if you are doing, you mention movers all the time, Jason. So if you're doing movers and you don't do office moves and you see office terms coming in, add the word office as a negative keyword. Don't worry about all the exact negatives and stuff like that. Just do the word office and move on. Real simple. This is day 2. You got the rest of your life to improve this. Get something done on day 2.
Yeah, a lot of people see those search terms, they check them, then they add them as a default, which is an exact match negative. So, Chris, you mentioned you have the choice to add the amount of words on a negative keyword, a 1-word negative keyword to catch a lot of things, or like the full phrase. You also have the choice of match type, and you mentioned broad match. And what you're trying to do early on when you add negative keywords is you're trying to cast a wide net to block a whole lot of stuff you don't want. And if you add the full keyword, multiple words, the full keyword as an exact match, you're only going to block that keyword. And then the next day, something else is similar could sneak through. So you're trying to cast a wide net, and just ask yourself, to stick with the office example, am I okay blocking any search that includes the word office forever? And if you are, then add office as a one word broad match negative keyword, and it'll block any search. It will block any search that includes office going forward. So Chris, then you've looked at your search terms, you've added some negative keywords very quickly. It doesn't have to take a long time to try to catch a lot of bad things.
Good
and
point.
then it doesn't have to take long. So you have a couple more minutes. Now you're looking at the positive side of things. Add keywords if needed. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, because this is not necessarily something that I think everybody needs to do. Certainly day 2, you may not find something that's better, and you say, Chris, how do I know if I need to add a keyword? And I've isolated down to 2 reasons why to add a keyword. For me, it's either based on value or value or risk. Okay. So value would be this. If I'm advertising on phrase match movers near me, and then I see a search come in that says large home movers near me, right? And that's kind of a weird search, but let's say that implies that it's a very wealthy neighborhood, large, 5,000 square foot, something for you, Jason, a small home, but
Sure.
large home move. This is a value improvement. You're like, oh, that's good. If that's getting searched, that's a value for me. Okay, so you would add that as an exact match keyword because you want to target that. On the other hand, risk. If the phrase match movers near me matches for just the word movers, single, by itself, that is a risk factor. That is a point of a keyword that is higher risk. So I don't want to block that. I don't want to stop it, but I want to limit it. So then I add that as an exact match, just the word movers by itself, and I might put a lower bid on that. So that's why you add keywords. And again, this is a repeating process. Check search terms, add negative keywords, add new keywords. These 3 things you'll hear us say over and over again. And that's how you decide if you add new keywords, value and risk.
Okay, so just to clarify, when you said check the search terms, first thing you do on day 2, and then you said add negative keywords, obviously based on looking at your search terms, are you also meaning that you're adding keywords based on what you see in the search terms report?
Yes.
Like okay, so the entire day 2 up till now so far is step 1 search terms, and then step 2 negative keywords, and step 3 positive keywords. But it all stems steps from 2 and 3. It stems from the data you see on the search terms report.
Yes. Thank you for clarifying. Yes. Everything I've talked about so far is all stemming from search terms. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and then number 4 here, adjust bids.
And
to what and why?
Yeah. So this is a correction that is in place here if you didn't spend your full budget, or you didn't spend any budget, or like you notice that and we're going to get more into this a little bit later, but on day 2, if you see that you got like 3 clicks and you're like, oh my gosh, I way overdid this, I was expecting more, adjust bids accordingly. If you if you really blew it out really fast and you're not happy with what you got, try lowering. You might want to look at your positions just to kind of see, if you saw a really high first position percentage, then maybe lower it. But again, this kind of thinking comes a little bit later into day 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, I'm going to add the word maybe after adjust bids. Adjust bids maybe. Yeah, because I don't see anything wrong with maybe not adjusting bids after just
absolutely
one or 2 days, or actually 1 day of full data. One final thing there, Chris. You can look at your position data, absolute top percentage columns, but you can also look at your cost per click and your budget usage. So if your cost per click is very high compared to your daily budget and you use your full daily budget, that might be a sign that you can go down a little. If your cost per click is very low compared to your daily budget and you barely used any of your daily budget, that's a sign maybe you could go higher.
That's a
Just
good,
something,
yeah,
just some things to look at before you have a
simple.
ton of position data to rely on.
Yeah, that's a good point because it does get more complex as we go down through the days. So yeah, that's a good point without getting into other more complicated metrics. So yeah, and
Okay,
we
so that doesn't
that
take
took us 30 minutes. So we've got another 23 and a half hours.
You going back to the porch with the sweet tea?
Yeah, let's do it again. It was nice. It was relaxing.
Okay.
Let's go back there. This time
Okay.
though, the kids are home, and it kind of ruins the ambiance and the peace. You know, they're like riding their little scooters in front of you, and one of them runs over your toe,
Yeah.
and it's kind of not quite as good as day one.
Okay, so a little busy day, but
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah.
You're rested because you didn't have to work too hard, and you go into dad mode. So day 3 here. What do you do on day 3?
At the risk of being repetitive, Jason, what do we do? I'm a Google Ads manager, but what do? I check search terms. I mean, I'm
Be
back
very
to the search
passive.
terms.
It would be very passive aggressive at the many cocktail parties you go to, Chris. If people ask you what you do, I know you're always kind of a little weird about that, but if you just start saying, I check search terms reports, I'm a search terms report checker, and just leave it at that.
Yeah. Okay. They'll move on to the next person after that.
Yeah.
And that'll accomplish my goal. Leave me alone.
I love the search terms report. We launched a new client about 2 months ago now, Chris. Big client, very big business, and like they're really wanting Google Ads to work well. The tracking has been a little tricky. There's a lot of things going on with their tracking, and it's been tough to get all that set up. But the peace of mind that I've been able to have is that when we look at our search terms report,
Yeah.
it is just so beautiful and so perfect, and it's people looking for exactly what they offer. We're 2 months into that account, but we're still living in the search term campaign. That's the first thing we do, and the last thing we do. So yeah, so that's where you are on day 3 as well. Check your search terms. Okay, you have the same 2 things there: add negative keywords, add keywords if needed.
Yeah, same process. Add negative keywords based on what you see in the search terms, and add new keywords based on risk and value. And then we get a new step.
Change your match types or modify your keywords. What do you mean? Change your match types. I get it. If you really like a phrase match keyword, it's coming in. What's one of your top volume ones, and you look at the search terms from that one, and you're like, oh, these are really good. Maybe instead of just changing it from phrase to exact, I would also like to add the exact match version.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of like that idea. So changing match types, you already have your phrase match keywords. Maybe you could clarify on that, and maybe it could be more understood as adding exact match versions of keywords.
Right. Well, actually, I do mean change match types or modify keywords. What I mean by that is if you're seeing a whole lot of questionable activity and also very much volume coming from particular terms, this could be a sign that you need to go ahead and pull back on the volume of that keyword by changing the match type. Usually, this is one direction. Usually, this is from phrase to exact. Very rarely do I go from phrase to broad because I'm not happy with a keyword. I'm usually going to go
possibly
more.
If you did throw in some broad keywords, if you were willing to risk a little something on day 2, you could go from broad to phrase.
Yeah. I think so.
So change match types, modify keywords. So kind of tighten things up. If the keywords are making sense, you look at the keywords, you're like, those are searches I would want to show up on, but the search terms you're getting from those keywords aren't making sense. You can tighten things up with the match
If
type.
you're unhappy with individual, and by the way, when I talk about this, you highlight one individual keyword and look at those search terms just from that one keyword. And if you're unhappy with the quality of that one keyword, that would be an indicator for day 3. Okay, if you're getting a whole bunch of crap that you don't like, go tighter on the match type. Go from broad to phrase or phrase to exact.
And then modify the keywords. You've got a phrase match keyword, moving companies. You look at those search terms, you see a lot of competitors, you see a lot of moving checklist, just stuff that is not people searching for a moving company. Maybe you modify that phrase match keyword by putting the city name Dallas after
Yep.
moving companies, and it's moving companies Dallas phrase match. That's what you mean by modify in terms of tightening, adding another word to the keyword to tighten it up.
Jason, we've reached the point where we now have a hive mind. I was gonna say, yeah, if it says moving companies, just add the word Dallas. I was gonna say that. It's just beautiful. I'm so glad that we have this.
Yeah, me too. So let's take a break here. Let's talk about that hive mind and see if it equates to our feet and we're able to move together on the dance floor as we often do. Let's make up after what you did to me. You're such a nice guy on the show, and I wish people could see what you do to me before the show.
I don't know what you're talking about. So
you don't know what I'm talking about before the show.
Okay, I do.
You forgot. Okay.
Yeah, let's dance.
I'm willing to move on because I like you so much, and I know it's nothing. You just can't really help it.
All right.
If I can get an apology,
oh gosh,
I'll be willing to dance with you.
That's it.
Okay.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I want to remind you about our sponsor, Optio. They are the tool to get more done in Google Ads. You have that one account that you're like, I'm going to lose this client, or I'm going to get fired. My boss is going to fire me. I don't know what to do. I need some creativity. I need a new point of view on this. And guys, Optio is the tool to give you a new point of view. Dashboards, checklists, suggestions, everything you need to essentially bring you to a new point of understanding of your account. It's really a wonderful tool, and it does it in scale, and it does it very quickly. You're going to like it. You can try it for free. That's the best deal you'll get. You go anywhere else. You go to Optio.com, you'll get a month. You go to Optio.com/PSP, you get 2 months. Check it out. You're going to like it.
Okay, thanks, Chris. So now we're on day 4. For the love of God, tell me something new, Chris? Day 4. I want to dig into
something super new, Jason.
I want to dig into YouTube. I want to dig into display campaigns because we think a lot of people will really just buy our products right off our site the first time they see our display ad. We want to take over the world. What do we do on day 4, Chris? How do we take over the world?
This is you're going to love this, all right? Okay. So the search terms, right? We're going to check those, and then we're going to add negative keywords, and then we're going to add new keywords if needed based on value and risk. How about that?
Okay, well, what about all the nerds out there that come over to this space from other parts of the online world and think you have to do all these magical things within the first 4 days? What do you say to the pushback of really search terms and negative keywords and new keywords again?
Yeah, it really is. I say, look at the greatest Google Ads manager in the world, and he agrees with this.
I agree with you. Yeah, Chris. This is where you live. Search terms, negative keywords, add new keywords. And honestly, this could be day 4 on year 17.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Because the point is this stuff is super important. And don't get distracted with all the other stuff that you can see and do inside of a Google Ads account. So day 4, you run back to search terms report, add negative keywords, add new keywords. And then what else do you do on day 4, Chris?
So here's something unique. Now you've got several days of data, hopefully clicks every single day. At this point, you're starting to get an idea of what your search impression share and positions are staying at, okay? So you hopefully you're not making super big adjustments, but what you're going to want to do, assuming you're not like just making money constantly off this campaign. Let's assume that you're bordering failure, as most new campaigns are going to do first couple days out the gate. You're going to want to keep that search impression share loss due to rank at a very a very high number. You don't want it to be a low number. You want it to be a higher number, 60s, maybe 70s. You want to keep your foot off the pedal, okay? So adjust bids if needed at this point. Again, this is manual bids to keep that search impression share due to rank at a higher number if it is low.
Okay, and if your search impression share loss due to rank is low, and you're not hardly missing any market share due to ad rank, it probably means your absolute top percentage position is pretty high because it means you're probably bidding a lot.
Right.
My point is, Chris, you're the search impression share guy. That's also how people know you at the cocktail parties. They say, "Oh, here comes the search impression share guy. What's he going to talk about today? Lost due to rank, lost due to budget." He's only going to talk about one of those two things.
Or search terms.
I'm more the position guy. I love the position columns. I want to apologize here publicly to Google. I was not a believer after they took away AVG POS, AVG period POS, average position 2.2, 3.7. They gave us those nice little decimals. We were in love with those. I was a little skeptical of the absolute top percentage, but Chris, I've fallen in love with those more than anything I've ever fallen in love with in life to date.
Beautiful.
I love those two columns. And for me, Chris, that's where I make my bidding decisions. Okay, I'm spending my full budget. My absolute top percentage is really high. Oh, I've got room to pull back. Oh, I'm not spending hardly any of my budget at all. I'm only showing up number one, absolute top percentage, 10% of the time, 0% of the time. I'm not showing above organic more than 20% of the time. If you're not showing above organic top percentage, a lot of the time you're not going to get clicks. So I use that to guide me if I should increase my bids a little more than impression share, but that's a nice little difference between us. When we're both at the cocktail party together, it gets a little wild. Search impression share and the position data.
And the position, share and position, yeah. So there we go, 23 and a half hour break. This time we had no time to just sit and relax. Like, it was all kids, all responsibility. The house is a mess. Day went really fast. Not really a good day at all. Now we're on day 5.
Okay, so what are you doing on day 5, Chris? Shock us
day
here.
5. Here we go. You guys, are you ready? You say it with me. Search terms, negative keywords, and add new keywords if negative, if needed, based on value and risk. That's it. But there is something new to do that we can do. Because you possibly adjusted bids, check to see how that affected things. So do a comparison between yesterday and the day before to see how much those bid adjustments moved your search impression share due to rank. Did it bring it down like 1 or 2%, or did it bring it down like 70%? How much did it affect that? And then understand how much leniency you have in that throttle on your bids. So if $1 made a huge difference, be aware that you need to probably start bidding in increments of 20 cents, back and forth. So this is a time to learn. Now you're starting to get data and you're starting to see reactions to your changes. So day 5, you can start making some decisions on, how's this engine work for me? What's going to happen when I do this?
Yeah, let me just throw out there, Chris. We're looking at very, 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 very.
It's a long show.
Very small amounts of data. We are. And if you have in your stat, this is very important, Chris, and you're going to apologize for laughing at me.
Another very, okay.
The data will vary from day to day. Chris, my point is, if
go ahead.
If you're at the campaign level and you look at your status, oftentimes, because we all know many, many campaigns get this status, you could be limited by budget. And if you're limited by budget, your little bid adjustments day to day, they may not be what's causing your data to change as much as limited by budget. If you lower your bids and then you're like, oh my gosh, we are used to getting 7 clicks. Today we got 1. It may have nothing to do with lowering your bids. It may just be you were limited by budget. So I just want to caution people that I'm into changing your bids as the week goes on. But at the same time, we're very early here, Chris. And I'm going to say, as boring as it is, focus more on the search terms, adding negative keywords, adding new keywords. Because the bids, it's just, if you're limited by budget, you have less control over how much those bids actually change things day to day. Let's move on to day 6, Chris. What do you do on day 6 of a Google Ads campaign?
Okay. And again, there's a reason, just like you said, Jason, there's a reason these are 1, 2, and 3. Day 6 is again going to cover search terms, negative keywords, and new additional keywords. And I always like to say if needed on these new additional keywords. That does not mean that you should be adding new keywords every single day. I probably should have said that. I don't know if we said that at the beginning or not.
I don't think you did. That's a good point, though.
Do not add them every single day. I would really think that you're needlessly working, and you could save yourself another 10, 15 minutes and have a longer break if you're doing that every single day. So then we get to a new point. Number 4 on the checklist for day 6 is check ad schedule. Check your devices. Check your location if you're struggling with search impression share. So now let's say, Jason, just like you mentioned on day 5, let's say you're really limited by budget. You tried to adjust your search impression share due to rank and bring that to a higher number so you can get a few more clicks in the day. But let's say you're limited by 85% on budget. Budget's just an issue. At this point, check your ad schedule. Maybe you shouldn't run 24/7. Check your devices. Maybe you can cut certain devices out entirely. Check your location. Maybe you're too wide on your geographic targeting. You can limit it a little bit. If that's the case, now after 5 days of data that budget's really going to be an issue, and you can start cutting some things. You might even cut some keywords, but it's usually a lot easier to cut ad schedule, devices, and location more so than deciding which keywords to kill.
Okay, so you're basically looking at devices, locations, and schedule based on, and possibly demographics, but based on your usage of the budget. And if you're limited by budget, which means the market is bigger than the budget you're bringing to the table, then you're thinking, oh, well, then I have my choice of maybe limiting my settings and showing up on the best stuff that I want to show up on, the best locations, the best people, the best devices, and maybe tightening things up because you have the opportunity to do that because you could spend more on the best areas because you're limited by budget.
Yep.
Okay.
That's it.
And if you're confident on the other end of the spectrum, if you're confident that you're bidding enough, if your positions are high, and you're not missing out on anything due to budget, and you're not able to spend your full budget, this might be a time where your budget is bigger than the market, possibly the market for your keywords. And of course, adding more keywords is an option, but maybe you went too small with your location. Maybe you went too small with your schedule. Maybe you turned off mobile right from the start and you shouldn't have. This could be an opportunity to open things up a little more and spend more of your budget.
Yeah, good point. Okay, another 23, let's say 24 hours of a break. This only took you a couple minutes here to do this. So, a solid 23 and 50 minutes that you have, because the time investment should be getting a little bit less, at least on a daily basis, because there's still a lot of wonder and question about this.
Okay, so
the day 7.
So the day 7, again, check search terms report, add negative keywords, add keywords if needed. I'm going to say by day 7, you should be seeing improvement in the quality of your search terms report and your search terms data. It shouldn't be a thing where, oh my gosh, every day it's horrible search terms, so I'm going to do what I think I should be doing, which is adding negative keywords and then adding better keywords and modifying, tightening up and all that. If things are not getting better by day 7 on the search terms report, either the things you're doing, you're not doing them correctly. You're adding negative keywords that are too tight, meaning the actual full phrase and exact match. Or you're not tightening up your keywords enough. So you're either not doing it right or you are doing it right. You're adding good keywords. You're adding negative keywords to block a lot of the bad stuff you want to block. But if your quality is still low, then there's other keywords that are continuing to pull in bad stuff. And so then you've really got to look at your keyword list and go do it. I would say a lot of people make this mistake, Chris. They come over again from other parts of the digital marketing world. They copy and paste a 500 or 100 or 150 word list into their keywords. And you're kind of like trying to plug holes in a wall, but there's way too many holes to plug. And so, you add some good negative keywords and you tighten things up, but then there's a whole nother set of bad keywords that are still in there causing bad search terms on day 7. Shouldn't be like that. You should be able to improve things by day 7. And this is an argument for the lazy man build again. Stop overdoing it with your quantity of keywords. The fewer keywords you have, the easier it is to spot problems. Isn't that a valid point, Chris?
I think that is a great point to make here at day 7, because when we go through these 3 things again, check search terms, check negative keywords, check keywords, or add additional keywords if needed, this should become less and less of an issue. And
you should see more and more quality.
Yeah, you should be seeing changes. So this becomes less, and then it, moving on to week 2, week 3, week 4, this may be just a weekly thing where you check and adjust things. So yeah, great point. That. I think that's great. Now, again, we're making bigger judgments based on trends and ideas. So the last couple items, or the last item really for day 7, take a step back and look at your ad groups and think about the quality of the traffic that's coming in based on the theme of the ad groups. So let's go with movers. It's just a mover day. So, say we have a movers group that's just core mover words. Movers near me, best movers, great movers, things like that. Then you have other ad groups that are based on home and big and, best quality or fastest, things that people have some type of certain desire that might be worth a little bit more, because, if someone wants a big house move or a fast house move, last minute house move, they might be willing to pay more, so these might be worth a little bit more value. So take a step back and look at your ad groups and decide, is my money going? Is the highest percentage of my money going where it should? Maybe I should adjust bids if needed, pause some keywords if needed, to slow some of the trend on the less qualified traffic that's coming in. Would you agree?
I would, but I just want to caution everyone again. Day 7 is still day 7. It's very early.
That's true.
So I like that we focus so much on search terms and negative keywords and new keyword and adding better keywords or modifying them to make them better. To me, that's where the focus is on the first week and even the first month and a little past the first month. My point is, take the pressure off. There's no need to set up and get set up the perfect Google Ads account in the first week. It's not doable. Mm-hmm. And there's no need to get perfect results. As long as you're getting good results, and good results come from great search terms, your campaign will do fine. You'll start getting leads from the traffic, and those leads will turn into business, and it'll be profitable. Now, maybe in the first week, it's a 2-to-1 return, 3-to-1 return, and you're kind of break even. And maybe you want to get to a 4 or 5-to-1 return or even more over time. You'll get there. But if you can at least be break even inside of Google Ads during that first month, and that work comes from what you do in the first week, it will allow you to keep running on Google Ads and make things better and better, and also get that benefit that comes with running Google Ads consistently for long periods of time. My point is, Chris, you can't get there. You can't do that if you have bad results and are losing money, and losing money and bad results come from bad search terms. Yeah, so my main point for this entire episode is that your bids can get better. Your targeting can get better. Your usage of the budget can get better over time. But what you got to focus on during that first week are the searches that you're paying for, and figuring out why you're getting bad search terms if you are, and cleaning it up and fixing it. And then you can do everything you want to do from there. But the focus of week 1 is getting the right search terms. That's my focus. That's what I'm hearing your focus is, Chris.
Yep. Absolutely.
You agree with that?
Yep, that's it. And I think well said. It is the first week of the rest of your campaign's life. So, the goal was to improve on a small amount and kind of tweak and adjust. You have plenty of time to get more done. And that's it. So, as I mentioned at the top, this is the kind of thing I do on my Patreon. So if you guys are interested in, and I do live videos along with a screen share, and I share these things, 20-minute videos, plus a really great community of people that kind of support each other and answer questions. We have a Discord and all that. So chrisschaefer.com, click on the link to the weekly training videos and check that out.
Thanks, Chris. And I'm at rothmanppc.com if you're looking for just perfect Google Ads management with great response times and great strategic thinking. Give me a call, rothmanppc.com. So, Chris, thank you. Thank everyone for being here. We will be back next week with probably the second best Q&A we've ever done. That's the way I think it's going to be lined up. And we got some great questions loaded up. Continue sending your questions in at paidsearchpodcast.com. And we'll see you then. Thanks.